Good afternoon, everyone. Lovely to see so many folk joining us this afternoon. And Lorraine, are you able to join us just now?
Yes, thanks. Hi, Leslie.
Hello there. Hi, Lorraine. And I think we'll make a start. I think there are a good number of people on the call already, and we know that time is short within the sessions. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session that's going to be brought to you by Grange Primary School and Early Learning and Childcare class, Grange Primary School in Angus Council. And I had the great pleasure to be a part of the inspection team that went to visit Grange Primary School a couple of years now. And we had a wonderful time with the school and learned so much from Lorraine, the head teacher, and her fantastic team of senior leaders and staff, and indeed from the children themselves. My goodness, from the minute we arrived at the school to the minute we left, the children enjoyed sharing with us what they did in Grange Primary School, and it was really special. We were blown away by the approaches that the school had, and that way that they made sure that no child missed out. It was really quite something. So it's fantastic that Lorraine and her colleagues have agreed to come and share what they do with us this afternoon. Just a couple of housekeeping things. If I can ask everyone to have their cameras off and their microphones on mute while the presentation is taking place, and there will definitely be time for questions after the event. So if we can have cameras off and mics on mute, please, that would be really brilliant. And I'm going to share a video from the school. I'm going to get that up on my laptop at the minute. So while I do that, I'm going to hand over Lorraine to introduce to you who she has in her room there, and then we can get the presentation going. So over to yourself for a minute, Lorraine.
Okay, thanks for that, Leslie. So it's lovely to be with you all this afternoon, and great to get the opportunity to share some of what we do here in Grange. With me in my office today, I'm joined by Pippa Lansborough, who's our deputy. I don't know if you can see Pippa there. She can give you a wave. Then we've got Maura Goldham, our principal teacher. Hi. And Carolyn Grant, who's our senior early years practitioner. Unfortunately, our other principal teacher isn't able to be with us today because she's not in school, but she's certainly with us in spirit, because it very much is a team effort in everything that we do. So we're going to share with you a video which, to be honest, we've been meaning to get round to make for a number of years and just never quite got there. So it's been a great opportunity to put this video together, because it's something that I think we'll get lots of use out of with staff, parents, and all the rest of it. So hopefully you enjoy it. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat pane while it's on, and we can answer any questions following the video. So I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to our school. We hope that you're going to
Can everyone be on mute, please?
do things around here. Our school, like all others, is a really busy place, and it isn't possible to share everything that we do with you on this video, but we do hope that we're able to share the highlights, and that we can certainly give you a flavour of life at Grange. Following our inspection, Education Scotland produced this fantastic sketch note, which helpfully captures our school's strengths using three main themes. These three themes are: 1, our ethos of nurture and achievement; 2, our commitment to high quality learning and teaching; and 3, our sustained high levels of attainment. We have used these three themes to share our journey of improvement.
At Grange, we want everyone to reach for the stars. #believe. Everyone in our school is valued, and we all believe that with the right amount of challenge, hard work, and support, we can all achieve our goals. The word stars spell out our values: safe, trying hard, active, respectful, and successful. The ethos in our school is very nurturing, and we value positive relationships with the children, families, and between staff. This can be seen in all of our routines and all around our school.
Our learner qualities help us to understand what it means to be a great Grange learner.
These are learner qualities and lessons so we know that we're developing a great Grange mindset.
Learn to learn sessions help us to understand our learner qualities and reflect on our mindset.
Learn to Learn is also a chance to reflect upon our learner qualities, and it reminds us what we need to do to keep making progress. We have lots of different ways at Grange to make sure that everyone feels valued and included. We seek feedback through surveys, staff gathers, and we are all open and solution focused. All our staff go the extra mile for the children and for each other. It's a happy place to be.
Every term, usually staff gathers, we meet in the staff room, have a bacon roll, and it's really to discuss any issues that we've got between the teaching staff, non-teaching staff.
Here at Grange, we work collaboratively as a staff to improve our teaching, and also we work collaboratively with our learners to improve their learning. We use regular relational trust surveys to check in on our staff relationships, to support collaboration and to drive improvement. Staff work in small impact teams to work on areas of improvement using PDSA cycles. We identify what we want to improve, link it to our school improvement plan. Here at Grange, we use lots of different ways to try and see our teaching and learning through the eyes of our children. We seek regular feedback from all our children. We use surveys which help inform us of our approaches, not just to teaching, but to relationship building. At Grange, we really want to get to know all our kids.
This is our 3-year curriculum plan, which is organised into whole school topics so that all children are guaranteed high quality learning experiences. The topics are broad themes which allow for different interests and choice. We work in teams to develop our plans, which are differentiated and focus on bringing learning to life.
Our topics have a real-life learning opportunity so that all our children have rich learning experiences. These have ranged from a design project linked to the V&A Museum to a pop-up shop where every child sold upcycled produce in the local community. The children run a monthly reading cafe for the local community, and every child is included. Everyone is also part of a Make the Difference group. Our aim is to provide guaranteed experiences for all, so that everyone feels that they are being given the opportunities they need to reach for the stars. #Believe.
Granger through and through. I'm a former pupil who came back as a modern apprentice and now an early years practitioner. I'm living proof that at Grange we reach for the stars. #4.
At Grange, we have a shared language of learning. Our learning ladders provide a progression framework from nursery to primary 7 and are a simple way of ensuring what a year's progress looks like across the school.
Use Waggles to help us achieve our success criteria.
We use Waggles and Wabbles to involve children in co-creating the success criteria. The children are skilled at differentiating success criteria using must, should and could and our minion measure.
Waggle has met all of the success. Okay, so today we're learning how to describe a character in our writing. So we've got our success criteria as usual. So differentiated, we know must if you're wanting to choose the easiest option. Want to make your writing a bit better, go for should. Even better, go for could. So must today is our everyday essentials. What type of things are our everyday essentials then, Lydia?
Our everyday essentials are capital letters, full stop.
Yep.
The minion measure has been developed with children and staff and is based on solo taxonomy. It provides a simple framework to increase levels of challenge and has been used by children to create rubrics. We even have a rubric to help us measure our progress in developing our learner qualities. The minion measure has been used to improve the quality of our questioning. They are used to support the planning of differentiated and challenging learning experiences. Both numeracy and literacy are planned in 2 weekly cycles. In numeracy, the question stems are used to create diagnostic assessments to measure progress in learning within each cycle. Diagnostic assessments are structured using questions from each level of solo. Children are also skilled in using stuck strategies so they know what to do when they don't know what to do.
For nursery, learning is planned both intentionally and responsively, ensuring children's interests and needs are met. Our focused learning groups allow us to provide differentiated experiences for all children.
We use the Daily 5 to promote a culture of reading for pleasure and to develop literacy skills. The children are trained to choose their own good fit books, which allows them to get excited about reading. They are encouraged to recommend books in class and across the school, and the staff are working hard to develop their knowledge of children's literature. The children also choose what they would like to write about, and they work on the skills already taught during Big Writing or Talk for Writing. This has all contributed to us winning the First Minister's Reading Challenge School Journey, and we are going for gold in a Reading Accreditation Award.
Daily 5 is where we do read to self, read to someone, work in writing and word work.
Yeah. Win doesn't seem to care. He just grabs the other end of the boat and starts pushing. Mitch's boat is a normal wooden rope.
Our outdoor learning is embedded into the ethos of our setting. Our fantastic school grounds ensure many opportunities to explore and learn about nature in our forest areas. The children regularly engage in fire pit fun in the nursery garden, school grounds, or out in the community at our local beach.
At
At Grange, we have a shared language of teaching. Our Grange Top 10 was created by staff for staff using the Visible Learning Mind Frames and Quality Indicator 2.3. All staff used the Grange Top 10 to self-evaluate, providing a structure for our learning visit feedback. The data gathered informs improvement and our professional learning.
Our moderation cycle develops a shared understanding of the standards and expectations. Moderation is ongoing before, during, and after the planning of learning, teaching, and assessment.
Like most schools, we gather whole school data based on attainment, attendance and participation, among other things, and use this to identify trends with our comparators.
Our class data has evolved over the last few years to a point that we track pupil progress in all areas of the curriculum. All staff input the assessment information and professional judgments into the spreadsheet. This allows us to analyse impact and informs our planning. By building the use of data into our processes, our culture has become more collaborative and data informed.
So 3 times a year, we make teacher judgments based on this scale. So we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 is being achieving personal milestones which are related to children's individual education programs. We have 2, which is below the expected standard quite significantly. We have 3 is that they're below the expected standard, but with a little bit of help, they might be able to get to a 4. And a 4 here is where they are achieving the expected standard. And then 5 is beyond that level. So that's our really, really able learners. But within this level 4, we have 3 different categories. We have 4.2, which is achieving the expected standard. Then we have 4.1, which is they're achieving the expected standard, but they're slightly vulnerable and they possibly need a little bit more support within the classroom. And then we have 4.3, which is also achieving standard, but they're really capable and they need to push a little bit further and they require a little bit extra challenge in their learning.
We have worked together to develop operational definitions so that our professional judgments are consistent and reliable. We have raised attainment through improvements in learning and teaching and through our focus on moderation. By drilling down into our data, we have improved the quality of information shared at points of transition and our understanding of children's learning needs.
Our observations document children's progress in learning. Children are involved at all stages of the planning cycle and reflect on and revisit their learning on a 4-wheel riding. To support transitions into Primary 1, our staff use our learning ladders to make professional judgments that are captured on our data spreadsheet.
We developed an achievement and equity map to identify the most appropriate support for individual children.
Our supporting pupil learning across themes allows us to provide targeted work on social skills in an inclusive way.
Group and individual learning experiences are provided, ensuring no child misses out.
We hope that we have shown that we believe everyone can and does make progress at Grange. We are committed to working hard to improve the experiences for all every day. Our culture of ambitious self-belief means that anything and everything is possible. #believe.
I hope everyone enjoyed the video there from Grange Primary School. I got that the joy of seeing a sneak preview yesterday, and it brought me right back to all the wonderful things that we saw when we were in school. And I imagine there will be lots of questions coming up. What I'm going to do is just put in the chat there the video itself. I hope Lorraine won't mind me doing that, but it's on YouTube, so actually anyone can go and see it. So in case this is something you would want to share with your own staff teams, or indeed have another look at, because there's so much in there, that's on the chat now that you can have a look at your own leisure. Now, Lorraine and team, you were having a look at what was on the chat maybe, and so I don't know if there's any questions that you've picked up at this point.
No questions so far, Leslie, but more than happy to either take questions, or if anybody would want us to talk through anything that was on there in a wee bit more detail, because I do realise it was really just giving a wee flavour of the things that we do, but maybe not how we do them. So happy to do that if it helps.
I think if I can I'll maybe start off a bit of a discussion then. And you know what struck me again in looking at and listening to all that you do is there's this one word that you use a lot, and it's a very deliberate word, I'm sure, and it's the word guarantee or guaranteed. And of course this session is all about how you go about making sure that no child misses out, and that guarantee you give in all sorts of different types of your work is something that really strikes me. That's not something that we see everywhere we go, and we saw a bit about that in terms of your curriculum plan, that guarantee that all children get these kind of experiences. I don't know if you want to say maybe a wee bit more about that, Lorraine, or your team, but is that quite a deliberate thing, or you know, or how you've come to that kind of approach with your staff team?
Yeah, no problem. I think where that probably comes from is just over the years, you know, like all schools, we've done things in different ways, and maybe had pupil councils, eco groups, all the rest of it. And I think maybe perhaps because I've been in the school for quite a number of years, you start to realise that it's very easy, even when you don't do deliberately, but it's very easy for the same children to be seen coming through for the same sorts of activities throughout their time in a school. And I think then for us, it was that deliberate sort of conscious decision that actually that's not what we stand for. And it's very much about equity and making sure that every child is getting these opportunities, because quite often what can happen is the children who probably need them the most end up not getting them. So for us, it was about flipping that and saying, well, actually, it's not about putting anyone in front of anyone else. It's about making sure that everybody gets the same opportunities. And I think then that has become very much part of how we think whenever we're planning out anything that we do in the school and any of the processes that we've put in place. And it's very much for the staff as well. So again, I think it's easy to, I've done it, I'm guilty of it, and I still keep myself in check. But it's easy to always go to the same people as well, and staff if you're looking for somebody to take on a leadership role or whatever. And I think again, it's trying to build the same sort of processes in so that again nobody gets left behind, because by making sure that everybody's getting these opportunities, that's where again you see children flourish, you see staff flourish that you maybe wouldn't have if you didn't give them that chance. So yeah, very much a conscious decision that came about through evaluation of what we were doing over the years.
Brilliant, that's fantastic, thank you. And we've got some questions coming in now. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to give some people their Sunday names because it's how it's appearing on the chat. So Mrs. Hayes has asked, on the video it looked like the nursery children were having group time, and she noticed that there were children in small groups. Do you differentiate group time at that level in your nursery class?
I'll let Carolyn say a wee bit about nursery.
Sorry. Yeah, we do differentiate. We kind of just differentiate in.
Sorry, I'll bring her forward so you can hear her.
We differentiate in that children that are needing a little bit more challenge or a little bit more support are grouped together. But to begin with, we just do the groups to get a sort of benchmark of where the children are in their own groups. So it's a bit of peer work there as well. And then we split them and differentiate that way.
Our group times only take place first thing in the morning, and it's different. We do a different curricular area through the week as well. So we'll have numeracy, literacy, and health and well-being as the main focus.
And they're only little 5-10 minute grouped sessions. It's just a little blast of teaching that happens first thing in the morning, and then after that it's free play for the rest of the day.
That's great, thank you very much. Hopefully, Mrs. Hayes, that answers your question. And Katie has asked, she wants to know more about the attainment and equity map, the A&E map. Now remember, you described that to us when we visited you as a kind of a triage. So deliberately again, A&E, and that kind of really honing in on what's going to make the best support, if you like, for particular children at particular times. So do you use that within the ELC setting as well?
So I think it would be fair to say that has more of a school focus, but the same approach is used in our ELC. So it's maybe not as formal, but very much still using the same process that we would go through in terms of what are the issues we're seeing, do we need further assessment, and then that triage of, well, what are our options for providing the support that a child or family might be needing at that point. So maybe not as formally, but certainly absolutely using the same process.
Great, thank you very much for that. Mrs. Smith saying this is really impressive, very impressive, and wonders how long it's taken to embed all of these systems and changes into learning and teaching.
I mean, it has been over a number of years, but I think actually even making the video was really reassuring, because when we were involving the staff and doing lots of the different voiceovers, it was really clear to see that everybody really understands everything that we do, and it makes it then easier as new staff come in. But I think it's embedded because staff have been involved all the way, so it hasn't been done to them, it's been done with them. And also I think it's about aligning approaches as much as possible. So you'll see, for example, we make light of the Minion measure, but it is the solo taxonomy just made child friendly. But we build that into everything that we do with the children and also with the staff, and also with parents. So I think it's about, in some ways it's trying to take the complex and make it simple and simplify it and just have the same systems running through everything that we do so that it becomes aligned. And I think that's why it's become embedded, because we try not, we're very careful also about not always taking on board the next new thing. So very much been a focus on learning and teaching for us over the last number of years, but it's paid off because now we can transfer that to everything that we do.
Yeah, thanks, Lorraine. And I think that's what struck us when we visited, was that real connectedness. I mean, I think, excellence rarely is something that sits on its own in isolation. It's when things knit together. They really become, you know, it's a very kind of connected feel to what you do, and you really get a sense of that coming over in the video, and lots of really positive messages about how people can get a real sense of this, of your school and an early years setting just through the video. So that's fantastic. Barbara would like to hear a bit more about the learner qualities. That would be great, I think, to hear a wee bit more about that if you're able.
Yes, no problem. So again, that was work that we did with staff, children, families, really unpicking what do we believe at Grange are the qualities of an effective learner. So what makes a great Grange learner? So these are the things that we came up with at that time. And then they're used consistently throughout the school. So they're used when we have learn to learn sessions, which are, I suppose, traditionally an assembly, but again, there's a focus on learning in everything that we do. We also would see the learner qualities. Again, we've built it into different processes. So our Primary 7 Awards ceremony is focused around the learner qualities. And when we're in lessons, we would expect the children and staff to be making reference to the learner qualities. And then it sort of points throughout the year, making sure there's time for reflection around how do I think I'm doing with these things. So when the children do, so when we do parents' evening, for example, learner-led conferences, the children would lead that conversation, and part of that would be them talking about the learner qualities they think they're doing well in and the things that they still think they need to work on. So again, that's built into everything that we do.
Great, thank you very much. And some more comments in the chat, and I'm noticing that some other members of the inspection team who were with me are on the call today, so you don't get rid of us that easily, do you? We're all with you today as well. And Sandra, who worked with your colleagues in the nursery, is saying that, you know, she had the privilege of seeing these group times in action and how your staff really skillfully used these times to make sure that all children's needs were being met, you know, that challenge and support. So thank you very much, Pamela and Sandra, for your input here as well. Mrs. Smith was wondering, I think, was there any initial resistance? And I'm not sure, I don't know if you want to come on, if you want to speak, Mrs. Smith, just to clarify a wee bit about what we'd like to know in terms of the initial resistance.
Yes. It was just more or less, obviously, when you have a culture which the staff look like they're in an amazing place, but that might not been the case a couple of years ago, and it was just whether or not you met any resistance with the changes you were wanting to implement, or with the that you had, that kind of thing.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I think I don't know if I would use the word resistance, because I think we've done it together, and I think what we've really tried to build in is that culture of feedback. So if there was resistance, I would be looking to that to say, well, why, and working that through with staff. And actually, rather than coming up against people, saying, how can we work together to support you with this? I think everything that we do very much has a research base, and staff can see the reasons why and the benefits for the children, or we wouldn't be doing it, you know. So we're very clear about that, about the reasons why we want to. So, you know, a lot of the approaches we have used lots of visible learning tools, but again, there's a strong research base behind those decisions then, because we know that they're going to benefit the children's learning. So I think it's been more about working together and working through issues together. So I suppose for me, I look at resistance as, well, what's the reason for that? And is it a lack of confidence? Is it that people aren't getting the support that they need? So I would always look to us as a leadership team to say, what is it that we need to do differently to try and support staff with these positive changes? So I hope that does answer your question. We have had our ups and downs, but again, we take that as feedback. It's not, don't take it personally. It's all about us trying to improve collaboratively and together. So we're always happy to take feedback if it's going to help us get past any barriers.
Fabulous, and a positive spin on things as ever, Lorraine. What a fabulous answer, and I must remember that approach the next time something does not go particularly well that I'm trying to put forward. So thank you for reminding me to always think positively. Someone wanting to know a wee bit more about support for learning and those children who have additional support needs within Grange. And of course, I don't know if we haven't really mentioned a bit about the enhanced support class within the school. I don't know if you could maybe share a wee bit about how that fits in with your whole school approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are the specifically resource school for our cluster. So that means that children's needs, if they can't be met in their local school, they're placed with us. And to be honest, I've always felt that that's been, I suppose, a core part of our culture of our schools. So because we're meeting a range of diverse needs and quite significant complex needs, I think as a school staff, we're very used to having to go the extra mile for children, and that just becomes part of how we do things. So we have children with quite significant need who work in designated rooms in the school, and that does mean for us that we have got a lot of expertise across our staff. We have ASN teachers, but we also have a team of support for learning assistants who again are working with so many different learners. They are very skilled. So what we have is we have a room for children with predominantly who are on the autistic spectrum. We have a room for children with more complex needs, sort of more physical needs. And then we also have a room that we call kind of a transition room. So it's a room for children who perhaps can't manage a whole day in a mainstream classroom and need some targeted group work. And that's kind of like an in-between room. So I think we're very fortunate that we do have that range of expertise, but it definitely does promote that inclusive culture because all of our children are included in everything that we do. And as I say, it has meant that we've been able to really upskill our support staff who are integral in working with class teachers to try and deliver targeted support to groups and individuals in mainstream as well. So that does benefit us a lot, I think.
Fantastic, thank you for that answer as well. I don't think we've got any more questions at the minute, but something that I was speaking about this just recently, and it's always stuck with me, having worked with you and your staff, Lorraine, is that if I had been going back into school as a head teacher myself the next day, in terms of that use of data and that way that your teachers are able to track and drill down so well, it would be to make sure everyone can use Excel properly. And sometimes it's not particularly rocket science, but my goodness, what a difference that made to your staff being able to manipulate data, if you like, to use it in the way, the very best way to drill down. And I know that you have members of staff who are particularly skilled in the use of Excel and drilling down in data. And I don't know if that's something you could maybe just tell a wee bit more about. Would you agree with what I'm kind of saying there, that was a great tool for your staff in terms of using data better?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the important part for us there was that what we did was started by capturing data that we were already capturing quite naturally. So we weren't adding it on to people's workload. We were saying, look, here's actually a slicker way of capturing the assessment data that you're already gathering. And so, simple things that people were doing, spelling assessments, we already had our numeracy assessments underway. So systems that we already had in place, let's just start capturing the data on an Excel spreadsheet. And then let's start looking at it when we have our planning and tracking meetings. And let's see where that takes us, if that's going to be useful and how that can support our conversations. And then how we can flick between your class and another class. And, we can start to have that wee comparison. So I think it was bringing it in gradually. And then what we did every year was evaluated that with the staff and said, right, what bits are you using? What bits actually have you never gone to and we didn't need? And what would you like to see in there? So again, it was just sort of going in, involving people and doing it together, but trying, again, not to add to people's workload. And I think we're also very conscious of that with every decision that we make, and the staff know that and appreciate that anything we do, it has to be doable. And we're never looking to increase workload, we're actually looking to be smarter, because we all like our staff to have the time to really be thinking about the detail of their lessons so that every lesson and interaction is high quality. So if we can be slicker in the systems that we use, then we definitely build that in. And then I suppose the competence with the Excel has just gradually evolved because we've done it gradually together. I'm sitting saying this like I'm good on it now. I'm not great, but I've got lots of friends who are, and that's important too.
Yeah, that's teamwork, isn't it? Absolutely. I don't think we'll get any more questions. So I'll maybe ask one final question before we close. And we've spoken about we've managed to get 40 minutes without talking about COVID, but I'm going to mention it. What have you had to do anything a bit differently, or is there anything you know that you've had to stop doing, or how has your practice really changed over the past 18 months if it has done?
So I suppose again, like everybody, there are things that have had to happen quite differently. I think there's been a huge commitment from the staff to not lose everything, but we've had to do some things differently. So for example, I'm sure lots of schools run vertical groups, so that's what our MAD groups are, our Make a Difference groups. They had to be contained in classes last year, but we still continued on with wanting to achieve the learning through that we always did. And we're continuing to do that this year, again, not in exactly the same way, but in a different way. We also run a reading cafe, and that was run monthly down in the community cabin with the community and families who come to that. The children run the cafe. So again, we've had to do that differently, but maybe let Morag speak about that, because she led that last year and it had to be different. Yeah.
So what we did was did a reading cafe at home instead. So we put a little packet out with the reading book, solo questions, so parents could interact at home with the reading book. We had like a tea, a coffee, a wee biscuit. So they just had to do their own cafe at home, and then we gathered pictures and shared it, and it was good. It was really good.
I saw some lovely pictures of children making the cup of tea for their mum at home, which was great. And then in terms of, I think we've got better at some things. So Learn to Learn was always in the hall. Now we can do a voiced over PowerPoint. And what we're looking to do this year is, so it was all done online last year, but now we've got a wee bit scope to move that forward. And what we're doing is, we're looking to do is voicing over that PowerPoint and doing flipped learning. So they're doing the flipped part in the classroom with their teacher, and then they're coming in smaller groups to the hall to meet with us. And that's where we're doing the pupil voice and really getting their ideas and building in that there. So in some ways, we're doing things better. We're starting to meet in smaller groups with staff, getting our impact teams back together again, and staff are loving getting the chance to do these things. But again, they are in small groups, so you can do it safely. So maybe an introduction on a voice over PowerPoint and then into the work. So in some ways, I think it's maybe a bit more efficient, which is good. And yeah, just trying to put a positive spin on things, and then having a real focus on relationships this year, which again, I think is like lots of schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And folk are saying in the chat there, that was an inspirational session, and thanks for all that you've shared. People saying, fabulous practice and really clear. That from all that they've heard, that no child misses out. And someone who you may know, Chloe, saying that she taught pupils from Grange on their residentials at Kendrogan a few years ago, and it was lovely to see some familiar faces, and that she knows that the school has such a lovely ethos and is so welcoming. So I think we'll finish off now. Lots of other lovely messages coming in the chat, because I think we might be cut off in a couple of minutes. So thank you so much, everyone at Grange Primary School and Early Learning class, for helping today. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you really enjoyed the session, and #believe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone.